Good morning all, and thank you for dialing into today's webinar. Just to make you aware, you will be muted throughout the webinar, but if you have got any questions, you can use the Q&A facility. We will be recording the webinar today, and if anyone's dialed in as a guest, you can view more information on our homepage /register. And when the webinar ends, you will be directed to complete a really short survey for us, and it is really important if you could complete that for us, please. Just a quick reminder before we start the webinar today about our Learning Hub offer, which is running until the 7th of July. So there's still time for you to get discount on the Learning Hub, the Live Access and the Certification Hub licenses. If you are interested, you can email Robin. Her email is on the slides here, and she'll get in touch with you. And just also to let you all know, we are planning for our annual conference, Connect, to go ahead, and this will be in person, face-to-face at the end of November, so the 28th to the 30th of November. If anyone would like any information on that, you can email our support team or any of our team. I'm going to hand over to Dan Barton from Bluestonex, who's going to start today's webinar.
Thanks for that, Kirsten. Okay, can I just confirm that people can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Good stuff. Okay, just move that out of the way then. Right, okay. Yeah, good morning, everybody. By the way, it's the first time I've kind of run a webinar on my own, but I have got my team in the background awaiting some surprises that I'm sure I will find as we go anyway. So yeah, good morning and welcome. And today what I'm going to walk you through really is a number of solutions. Okay, so we're going to talk about Maextro. So for those of you that don't know what Maextro is, we'll just cover the basics of it. And then we're going to kind of focus our attention in the SAP. It used to be called the Cloud Platform, and now it's called SAP Business Technology Platform. So we're going to walk through a number of services that we've started using, amongst other things, but predominantly with our product Maextro. And we now have this business partner portal, which basically helps our clients manage their customers and vendors, which are now called business partners in the SAP world, a lot more effectively. So again, governing data, but also exchanging data in a little bit more of a clever way. So we're going to show you some of that and take you through some of the business technology platform services that we're using, explain to you the roadmap of the products. It's quite exciting. And then at the end, we're gonna also show you a couple of things that Bluestonex do around surveys. So again, data surveys to measure maturity of enterprises and where they kind of stack up in their field around data. We've also got another survey that measures as user experience as well. So Vikash is gonna share that one with you. Okay, so that's enough about that. Just very quickly then, for those that have never seen or heard of us before, we're Bluestonex, and the X really stands for user experience and innovation. And I guess our whole company ethos really, we're looking for kind of bright ideas, and typically we look for gaps within the SAP arena. So you will spot a gap and we'll start innovating with customers, and we'll build and we'll bring products to the marketplace. We are part of what's called the App House network. So it's a very select few of partners within the SAP network across the globe that are part of this new network. And the whole idea is it's customer innovation. Yeah, and it's focused quite heavily on the SAP Business Technology Platform as well. So that's a bit about us. The services, I won't cover this. I'll let you guys kind of read it. I think this is being recorded anyway, but we do the whole user experience in cloud. And obviously today we're talking quite a bit about master data and exchanging of data, which can be structured data and unstructured data. And as I said, what we like to do as a company is produce products. Yeah, so as I said, if there's a gap, We want to plug it. We want to put products out there that customers can kind of take off the shelf and tweak. That's our goal as a company. And where I'm coming from today, hopefully, my camera on, I think it is. But yeah, this is a design center in Shropshire, and this is part of the App House network. So this is a design space that is open for our customers. Yeah, and we work across different industries, different size organizations, in many kind of different areas of innovation and data services. Yeah, and as I said, the whole ethos behind the company, really, we want our customers to get biggest and best bang for their buck. So that's a mixture of different solutions that we bring to market. And we've got some creators, innovators, designers that work with our technical team to help customers get on that transformation journey. So taking a step back now, so this product Maextro, which we're going to show you a little bit about, this was created back in 2017. So the idea behind the product was it's an SAP add-on that lives within an ERP system, and basically it is a no-code solution to help you manage data coming in, creating data, changing data, and extending data within your enterprise, whether that's SAP or even outside of SAP. Yeah. So without going through each and every bullet point, it's built on SAP technology. Yeah. So it's kind of SAP first, but we've extended it now outside of SAP. It's very much a process driven. So when people talk about data, data's not really the most sexiest thing in the world. But Maextro is very much focused on not only data quality and where data goes and where the touch point is, but it's very much focused on process and process efficiency of data. And when we talk about business partner, so customers and vendors and onboarding that information, this is where the whole process kind of kicks in. So yeah, Maextro is an on-premise solution, but we use the cloud platform, or the business technology platform as it's called now, to kind of augment it and make it, yeah, kind of fancy, got some great capability, and we use these microservices, which we're gonna show you today. So yeah, Maextro is a one-stop solution for data governance, data quality, and it will cover everything from customer, vendor, materials, bill of materials, routing, you name it. If it lives in SAP or if it touches SAP, Maextro can manage it. So hopefully you'll get the idea of what Maextro is. I'm sure people on the webinar are existing customers of Maextro or have heard about Maextro, but if you didn't know what it was, that's it in summary. Got some quite nice UIs. Again, we're going to go through this, so user interfaces, and we're going to show you. So the whole idea behind the product originally was master data is quite a niche topic and a niche area, and typically a lot of companies would use offline solutions like email, Excel. It would come into a team or individuals that would key it into SAP. And what we've tried to do is make that whole gathering of data and keying into data kind of disappear. We need to make it intuitive where users are actually gathering data and seamlessly, you know, getting approved and going through its process. So this is kind of what Maextro looks like. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why. Again, hopefully I'm making sense to you. But there are a lot of solutions. We've got a lot of competitors out there when it comes to data. And as I said, data is not that sexy a topic. But one of the big things around data is it's quite, the solutions that are out there are quite heavy lifting and quite expensive when it comes to implementation. So you've not only got software costs, but the implementation costs themselves are quite expensive. So Maextro is a little bit different. As I said, it's no code. Yeah. So when we deploy it, it has existing processes and templates that people can just adopt. And the idea is that we will, you know, give you a link to some training documentation, or you can kind of sit within our team and learn Maextro incredibly quickly. And the idea is you configure it and you make Maextro work the exact business processes within your organization. Yeah, so that's kind of what Maextro is about. The methodology is quite an interesting thing. So again, time to market. When we deploy Maextro, it should be days and weeks, not months, sometimes years, when you hear about some of the stories when it comes to master data management, master data governance, they're quite lengthy projects. Not with Maextro. It should be quick. It should be, I wouldn't say agile, but it's a hybrid approach. And the idea is you get it out there quickly, and then Maextro will start building up its bank of governance and compliance and rules. And again, we'll show you some of this stuff. Hopefully I've explained this, so I'm not really going to go through this, but as I said, time, cost are the two differentiators. Got tons of results, tons of case studies. It works. We're quite proud of it. And we're entering into a new era now where we're using cloud technology to kind of augment what we've already built. So that's the kind of exciting bit from our development team's point of view. But we've got some quite impressive numbers. We've not really gathered a huge amount of data of the improvement areas around business partner processing, so customer and vendor onboarding, but we'll cover that. Hopefully, we'll all have some kind of epiphany, and we'll see for ourselves what Maextro can actually do in this area as well. So just to move on to this then, and I'm going to actually attempt to run a demo. I'm going to be playing different hats and different roles within an organization. But just to explain business technology platform then. So for those that don't know, and we have a webinar coming up, I think in October, which I'll put at the end of this, we're going to show lots of different services that are available in the business technology platform. And SAP kind of separate it out this way, okay? So it's meant to be the intelligent enterprise, and it's really gaining momentum now, because what this is enabling customers to do, if they're on S/4HANA already, brilliant, you can still adopt all this services. But the kind of hidden gem here is if you're on an older version of SAP, typically ECC, you can start utilizing some of these services. And that's a game changer for a lot of companies, especially when you consider, especially when you consider the upgrade path and the dates that SAP are kind of putting out there now. So this is a game changer. So we, as a business, 50% of our revenue and 80% of our R&D is all within the business technology platform, and it's moving incredibly quick. There are constant new services that are coming out that can be consumed and brought into your enterprise to make you that intelligent enterprise, as SAP love to say. So it's kind of split into four kind of pillars, how I would explain it. You have a database and data management, and we're going to show you today what is called HANA Cloud. We'll show you some analytics. So obviously everybody's aware of analytics, but what we're actually doing with Maextro, really, we're kind of extending and integrating data management. Yeah, so we're, instead of being just within the enterprise, we're kind of extending out now and collaborating and exchanging data outside of our enterprise. So we're going to show some of this. And then finally, we'll touch on these bits. We're going to focus on these in the webinar coming up in October, but I'm going to show you some AI stuff today as well. So that's business technology platform. But for you guys, if you're not familiar with what it is, it's SAP services in the cloud that you kind of consume within your kind of ERP or other systems. The great thing about this now is you can start building and consuming services that might not even touch SAP ERP technology. You might want to build an application or an add-on to, let's say, your CRM system or a transport management system. You can do a lot of good stuff with this. And that's what we say, really. The whole cloud services is adding value. So just to talk about HANA Cloud, and I'll explain this architecture of what I'm going to show you and explain the process that we're going to run through. Okay, but HANA Cloud is a database. So it's not S/4HANA. It's a database that lives in the cloud platform. And why we like it is you can use it for what we're going to show you today, which is business partner portals, but also you can start building other applications in that same database. The advantages being the UI, the user interface that you create on the top, is going to be consistent and clean and follow all these kind of design standards that we hear of when it comes to Fiori. But you can see here, like, you could literally strip out a ton of your access databases, Excel processes, move them all into the one place. So again, it's a really nice solution for getting things cleaned up and doing some really nice innovative transformation. So on to this new little product that we have out there, which is Business Partner Portal. So the idea behind it, and I'd love to see comments or in the Q&A as well, and some feedback, but this product is about exchanging data and making the onboarding process incredibly smooth whilst checking and implementing some compliance and governance. Yeah, so we have what's called APIs, which is basically calls to check information that the portal is receiving. So you can see here in this example, if I'm doing a vendor onboarding process, I can check information. If it's getting keyed in by the vendor, if they put in the company registration check, it will validate it. Same with the classic, which is the banking information, yeah, and the VAT numbers and stuff like that. But not only can we check data, we can also request other data. So I mentioned before, we're talking about structured data, but there might be unstructured data in here as well. And we can do lots of different things with kind of certifications, insurance details, you know, making up what your business might require as part of your compliance checks. And then lastly, what we've got in this solution is some technology around OCR, so optical character recognition. So the ability to upload a sales order or upload a PDF, the business partner portal will read it, interpret it, and load it to SAP. Yeah, so that's where that whole machine learning aspect of these little microservices, that's where these kick in. So hopefully I'm making sense, and I'm going to demo. So let's see how we get on. So the process that I'm going to run through, this would be the typical process that we see, okay, barring this one, right? What we see and what we hear a lot of onboarding processes, customer or vendor, somebody will initiate the request and it will be mainly email and Excel driven. So an Excel file might go to the vendor would fill it in, it would come back into that organization, and then people will add to that almost Excel spreadsheet, manual workflow, eventually coming to a team or individuals where information is being keyed in manually. Not all the time, but it's quite a common practice. So what we're going to run through today is a different process. So again, what you need to bear in mind, Maextro is configurable, okay? So when people buy Maextro, they get this. It will just run. That's the idea of it. And then depending on your business process, you might want to add steps in or take steps out. But this is the process that we're going to follow. So I'm going to act as a buyer, and I'm going to request the onboarding of a vendor. And then the process that we've defined here, somebody within my organization is going to check that request, okay? Because they might want to carry out duplicate checks, they might want to just carry out other compliance checks. Then the vendor is going to get registered, yeah? So our portal is going to notify the vendor and say, we'd like to start registering you for our onboarding process. So this is all taking place within Business Technology Platform, Maextro, and the Business Partner Portal, okay? All in the one solution. So the vendor will register, it will come back to the organization can then approve the registration. As I said, it's an optional thing, but this is what I'm going to take you through today. This could just be, removed if your organization wanted it to. So once that's happened, vendor will then get notified and say, hey, you're now ready for full onboarding. Can you start to please give us your data? We're ready for your data. So as that vendor is putting in information to the portal, we're having these checks take place. So that this is where, again, these API checks and validations are happening, so that the data coming back to the enterprise is checked, even before it reaches us. Because what we were finding in our research was a lot of these checks were happening manually, offline, further down the process. So vendors put in his detail. Typically within organizations now, it might get split out. So information's come in, and then we want to send it out to different parts of the business. So some bits might go to purchasing, some might go to AP, some might go to a data owner. So the data collection and the data approvals, they can all happen, but they're in sequence. It's all in the same workflow. It's all contained in one place. And this is Maextro that's driving it. So once all that data has been gathered, typically somebody will then say, okay, everything's in here now. I'm just going to have a quick look at that data. It's all been checked and validated. I'm going to hit the approve button. That's going to do whatever you need it to in SAP, typically create the vendor or the business partner record. Okay, so that is what I'm going to show you. I'm going to now attempt to refresh my browser. Okay, so for those that don't know, this is Maextro. This is the Fury Launchpad. Okay, Maextro is available in good old SAP GUI, but we're showing you the kind of the new tiles, the new user experience in here. And we'll cover some of this if we get time, because there's a ton of stuff on here. But what I'm going to be showing you, if I go back to this process, I'm going to start off here as a buyer, creating request. It might not be a buyer. You might allow other people within your organization to initiate a request. Okay, so this is a Maextro form. Again, a lot of this stuff, it can be defaulted, okay, but I'm just going to go through typically, put in some rationale behind it. I'm after a new vendor, template. I'm just going to explain what templates are for a second. So within the Maextro world, a template is a series of rules and business processes brought together. So all the end user has to do really, you might just have one template that's available, which says, I want a new vendor. And then the workflow, the rules, the validations, it's all kind of done up front, yeah, based on Maextro's configuration menu. So again, if we've got time, we'll cover that. So what's happened, as soon as I select my vendor, Maextro is going to ask me to carry out some duplicate checks. Now, I'm a naughty user, so I'm not even going to bother with that. I know this guy's a newbie. Now, what Maextro's done, it's actually given me an expected completion date based on the service level. You know, 5 days it takes me typically to create a vendor, 6 days it takes to create a customer. You give Maextro that information, Maextro will then start sending out reminders and all that type of stuff. Yeah. So Maextro is about process as much as the data. So I put in my basic information, and now I want to give Maextro a little bit of information. Okay. So we're going to onboard Bluestonex Consulting. We're going to have Mr. Barton as the email address. All fields that you can see on here, okay, all of them are configurable. These are just the standard templates. So as a requester, I'm putting in some information and I say I've finished that screen. Now, again, you can see here, it's asking me, right, what company code you want to create it for? Some users won't even know what a company code is. Again, all this can be defaulted, hidden, it's all configurable. I'm just giving you some examples of what Maextro would typically ask for. Now, finally, before I submit my request, what Maextro's configured to do is it's going to ask the vendor, when it starts asking for data, it's going to also ask him for some kind of unstructured data. So maybe some letterheads with bank details on, or VAT number, or whatever it is, you can build this here. You can kind of add your own in and be sending almost text to that vendor to say, hey, we need this as well. So I'm going to say, right, I've done that. So at this point, what happens? I create the request, and this is doing nothing apart from register within Maextro that I'm asking for some data, yeah, and I want to onboard this particular vendor. So I've got a request number down here. Okay, so let me just come out. I finished my initial request. Okay, and if I wanted to, we've got some small applications in here that, for example, if I'd created a request and I need to see where that request is in Maextro or in SAP, I can have a look at the timeline on it and who's doing what when. It's quite a nice one. We're actually revamping this particular application, but it's quite useful for end users when they put on requests. They can see where it is in the life cycle. Okay, so going back to my process then. Let me just show you where we are. So I put on a request, okay, and now it's gone off to another individual. And you can see here, I'm the guy playing the different guy in procurement. I'm just going to have a look at the approve request. Now, again, at this point, you might want to carry out some duplicate checks or some further due diligence. All depends on your organization, really. But basically, what I'm checking is what that first requester has actually put in, and I'm just going to approve it in this case. Okay, Maextro's now telling me that because I've approved it, this is now going to move to portal where the vendor is going to get notified. Okay, so I've approved that request. So this is where we are in the step. This is the next stage. So my email, I don't know if any of you guys actually heard that then. Let's switch back here. I've had an email. If you remember, the buyer put my email address in, right? So I am now playing the hat of the actual vendor. So you can see here, Maextro sent out the email. Again, this is all configurable, so you can actually put in the text that you want Maextro to actually send out. It's no code, okay? So that's the key bit. So they get an email. Your company's been requested. Can you register on our portal, please? Well, okay, let's jump in. So it's remembered my email from when I practiced earlier. That's bad of me to do that, but I'm going to put in my email address and then I am going to register. So again, we're now in the realms of business technology platform. So everything that you're seeing here is cloud-based, and I'll explain the architecture in a little while. Let me just set my password. Oh, what city or town? I'm good old Oswestry boy in Shropshire, I am, so I'm putting that in. Okay, so I'm just gonna register my details. Data's been submitted for approval. If you remember our step, okay, I've just done this step. It's now gonna come into procurement to approve it. As I said, these steps are optional. It's just showing you the integration and collaboration that you can use with Maextro and Business Technology Platform. So let me just reset my view here. It's better. Okay, so this is where we were. That's disappeared now because I've just refreshed my screen, and I am now approving the registration. Okay, so again, just bear in mind, it's an optional step. I'm just taking you through this particular process that we've got. Okay, so once I approve the registration, vendor's going to get notified now because we want him to give us data. Yeah, so let's say yes. And okay, come back. You should have another notification because I am at vendor. Okay, so what's it saying now? So dear vendor, registration has been approved. We need some data off you, blah, blah, blah. Again, all configurable from Maextro. So we're going to click on here this time. I'm going to log in. I'm going to enter the password that I've just set. Again, we've got two-factor authentication. We've got mobile pins in here. That's one good thing about the business technology platform. The security is excellent. I can explain a little bit more about the architecture in a second. Okay, so now I am the vendor. If I go back to my process, I'm here, okay? And what I'm doing is giving business partner portal some details, some information. Okay, so I'm going to start filling this in. Sorry, Dave, you're my accounts payable clerk. Right, okay, so the important things to note here is it's after some information such as registered address. So it says here, you see the purple bits of data. When the vendor starts inputting this data, it's going to use services, and it might be an HMRC service, it might be company's house service, or whatever it is. We have services here that will go and check and validate data. So I have some data here, and I'm going to take my registered address and I'm going to copy it in, and it's found the address here. So from a vendor's point of view, they key in the relevant bits of information and it's going to validate, or it's going to give them an error. Okay. Now the important one, we have another API here. So I'm going to take an IBAN. I'm going to cut and paste the IBAN, brings in the details. So again, these APIs, there are lots of APIs available, and it's basically like a pick and mix shop. You pick what APIs you want to validate, and then Bluestonex kind of invoke those services. So again, with the VAT number, if you know it's gone a certain color, and again, this can all be themed based on your organization and your brands. But the point is, the vendor's putting in data, we're validating it real time. We can also capture other things in here. So obviously, I've got address data, I've got bank data, but we can start capturing things like Dun & Bradstreet. So there are APIs, again, available that we can consume, and we can bring in, you know, Dun & Bradstreet numbers, we can validate certain things. So that the idea is that the portal can collect whatever data that you need. This is a predefined portal, but if customers need other aspects in here, it's quite a simple thing to do. So as well, there's classification. You can see here other information that might be relevant, JOSCAR, for example, business contacts. So again, let's put in some business contacts here. Sorry, Faros, putting you in here. You are head of purchasing after all. Can't type. The attachments, again, we requested this, if you remember. So your vendor is going to see what you asked for. So I'm going to use some predefined ones I did earlier. Okay, we can put some comments in. I can ask for insurance details, so on and so forth. Okay, so I'm just going to save this data, and then I'm going to submit it. Okay. Good. Okay, got through that without a problem, being as I'm the demo guy today. Right, so going back to our processes. This is where we are. The vendor has supplied details. We've run API checks. If he tries to put in bad information that is critical to your kind of downstream processes, the portal's going to give him the relevant information that he needs. Yeah, so they're going to have warning messages, error messages, however you need that set up. So what's going to happen now? We're going to take that data and we're going to flow it back to your SAP system, where Maestro's sitting there waiting for that information to come in. Okay, so if I go back, sorry, I'm going to have to move this somehow because it's blocking my view. Okay, just refresh my task list. So you can see here, it's now doing a couple of data collections. Again, bear in mind, you can configure this with no code. So you do it via Maestro configuration where you want things to go. You don't need ABAPers and code. That's the whole point behind Maestro. So we've taken data now from the vendor, passed it back to Maestro, and it's sitting here waiting for people to kind of validate the data. So you can see here, I've got the attachments that were loaded. I can click in here and have a look at those attachments. Okay, but my role as I'm procurement, I'm gonna validate the data that I've got in. All the screens that you can see here are configurable. Okay, the rules are all configurable. So if you need something validating and making mandatory, it's configurable. Okay, this is just showing you our standard template. So if you took this, dropped it into your SAP system, it's going to work. You can see the VAT number that was entered will come in here. It will get a check again because Maextro will use rules to validate things. Okay, same here. It's asking me for some other information. Terms of payment, well, we like Bluestonex, so they're going to get paid immediately. But again, typically, you're going to have a rule that's going to dictate terms of payment based on company policy. That wouldn't, it's probably a bad example. You wouldn't have that as a kind of a drop down typically. Okay, but you can see the data that I entered as well has come through. We've got some other information around business partners, and I'm going to save that. My task is done. Okay, so the task gets done, it's completed, moves on to the next task. Obviously, this task list that I'm looking at now is because I've got rights to everything. Okay, typically, a user would just see a task that's relevant for them. We're seeing everything on here. Okay. Right, okay, nearly there. So now I'm the accounts payable. So again, this is all configurable. People will only see what you want them to see and what they need to kind of populate. I've got my banking information that's come in. I've got to do my payment terms check here. And then I should be there. So accounts payable, you're done. And then finally, if we come back to our process, we got somebody responsible for this particular object. It might be a data lead, it might be accounts payable themselves. It's configurable. Okay, so let's go in, let's have a look at the final run of data. I'm doing this very quickly because it's a lot of the same information that we've just seen and it's read only. Now at this point, if I'm not happy with something, I can reject it, and I can reject it back to different steps in the process. Sorry, I just clicked the wrong button. So I'm reviewing the data. I like what I see. I can see the attachments. I'm going to approve that. And look what it says there. It's going to update SAP. Will it continue? Yes, please. There we go. Vendor created. So you can do a ton of stuff here. You can capture different ordering addresses as well. So in my portal, I didn't give additional ordering addresses, but we can capture things like that. Now that's typically quite a technically challenging thing to do in SAP because we're talking about mass processing. Yeah, but basically what we've done, we've onboarded a vendor. We've gone through quite a complicated process, but the exchange of data has been pretty much seamless. It's gone from Maextro in SAP out to the vendor. It's collected and validated data. It's come back into SAP. It's put rules on top. It's validated the data yet again. Come into a final approval stage. That person has reviewed the data, clicked approve, updated SAP. So that's the process that we've just walked through. Now, the interesting thing now for the vendor is obviously they've got their own kind of data lifecycle. Okay, so as a vendor, and I would have been notified again via email, by the way. But if I log back in, all my details are here. So the idea is, and this is quite common practice again, if they have changes to their data, yeah, bank details change, company reg probably wouldn't change, would it? But addresses might be added. The vendor can actually trigger the change. That gets sent to Maextro. That creates a change process in Maextro where approvals and validations take place. So I've shown you an onboarding process, but the same applies for any change to the data. Yeah, so whether addresses change, ordering addresses need to be added, it's done via the business partner portal, and it will flow into Maextro. Now, I'll come back to this stuff in a second, because I'm going to show you some other clever stuff in the portal. Let's just go back to my deck a second. Okay, so what I just want to show people now, because this is quite an interesting concept, okay? So not so long ago, SAP were releasing more and more of the artificial intelligence services. One of them is called document information extraction. And what it will do, and this is, I think this is brilliant because this stuff just kind of works out the box. So what Maextro and the business partner portal now is able to do, it will allow the ability for a customer or a supplier to load in a PDF or a JPEG or a PNG file with kind of unstructured data, read that data from a file, validate it using machine learning, and post it to SAP. Now, for some of you, you probably have solutions out there, okay? So like the Vim OpenText, to name one, quite a successful company. So they'll be using these services within their solutions, I'm sure. But the idea is, this is business partner portal, and the extraction services gives the ability for exchanging information, and then the business technology platform to interpret that information and process it downstream. Yeah, so you can see here, and I'm going to show you very quickly. Let's see if it will work. So what I'm going to do is take that in. So this is, and I've seen this ourselves, like when we're working with our customers, we have to use different solutions. So we'll use our finance system to generate our invoices, okay? But what also happens, I have to log on to sometimes supplier portals, and I have to key it in. I can't just load that document in. I have to key in the line items and the services that's involved. Here, I don't have to. I just drag it. I can drag it straight in. Okay. So what the service has done, it will interpret certain things here. So if I just go into modify for a second, I'll just have to skip through one of my screens here. Okay. So what we will see, you can see the invoice, and I did create a draft invoice, but it's read a lot of the information, okay? We didn't have to do anything. So this is this document information extraction. Now, the important one you can see here, right, is probably purchase order. Okay, so you can start to give this information, and it will learn. It will learn for next time. Now, this is probably one of the best microservices that I've seen from SAP, because straight away it challenges some of the solutions out there that a lot of companies pay a lot of money for. So the idea for us was, we will consume these services. We will give the ability to the suppliers and the customers to load in sales invoices and all that sort of good stuff. And we can post it and we can push it to wherever we want. That is the idea behind it. And that is where the kind of roadmap is going. Now you can see the machine learning and the algorithms behind it. And we're going to run quite a few sessions on this later on in the year. But basically it will give you confidence levels of the matching. And the idea is, if you have some quite strange documents that are sent to you, occasionally you're going to need to go in and almost train, show the machine learning what it needs to be interpreting. Like my example here, it's quite a simple invoice because I've got stuff in the header, I've got purchase order number, and then I've got line items. So machine learning will pick it up. Yeah, it's incredibly powerful. You don't have to do anything, it will just pick it up. Whereas other invoices or other sales orders you might receive from different customers or suppliers, they're going to be different. Yeah, so sometimes people will need to go in, just like some of the other solutions out there. But the point being, this is all in the one place. Yeah, so it's quite a powerful solution. So as I said, business technology platform, which we're going to run a few webinars for, it's great. So I'm not going to talk too much more because I'm conscious of time. So what you guys have seen today, okay, is me as the end user. We went through that process. We're using a mixture of business technology platform, which is this HANA Cloud, which is where we're storing all this vendor information. We're using APIs, okay, to check and validate data. We're using document information extraction, which is another service. And we were actually using the Launchpad, which was my Fury Launchpad with all the tiles. And that touches and connects to Maestro in ECC or S4. It will work on both. Okay, so that's the architecture behind it. Seems fairly simple, and yeah, it is quite simple, to be honest, but you can layer this solution with lots of other services. So I'm not going to go through this. I'm going to save these ones for another day, okay, because there is a ton of stuff that we can be showing you here. Chatbots, for example, which we'll cover in the next one. And again, we'll use it with Business Partner Portal, or for simple things like you can have a chatbot on your screen and you might want to do a password reset. So we're going to cover this in the next one as well, including IRPA, so Intelligent Robotic Processing Automation. Okay, so this is the idea where you can take unstructured data from an email, interpret it, post an invoice, create a sales order, go, or send it for approval. That's the idea behind it, okay? This is going to be recorded anyway. You'll find all this stuff on the Maestro and Bluestonex website. There is a ton of development happening on this whole framework, right? So we've already kind of shown you Business Partner Portal. I'm going to quickly hand over for a couple of minutes to talk about Qualtrics. Okay, so Qualtrics is going to be quite a useful tool. It can be used really nicely with the Business Partner Portal if you want to carry out surveys and questionnaires to your suppliers or customers. So I'm going to let Vic show that. Hopefully that gives you a glimpse of what's coming down the road with Maestro and Business Technology Platform. I'm not going to cover configuration, but hopefully you get the idea that Maestro lives in SAP. It's an add-on. You can configure it and you can dictate what processes without the need to program. And then you've got your Business Technology Platform Portal, which is a kind of bolt-on to Maestro. So on that note, because I know that I am running very quickly through time, I am going to ask Vikash just to explain a little bit about Qualtrics, because for those of you that don't know, SAP acquired this, I think about 18 months ago for a lot of money. How I explain it to people, and I'm probably doing it an injustice, it's like SurveyMonkey with a bunch of insights and machine learning. So Vic, I'm going to stop sharing, hand over to you, and then we'll come back to me at the end.
Okay. Do you see my screen? Okay. All right, so we'll start with.
Can.
Okay, thank you for confirming. Okay, so we'll start with the data maturity index, which is kind of a product for us. This is basically a framework which actually measures how the organizations use data. And we actually float a Qualtrics survey, which takes around 10 minutes to fill in for anybody. And based on the responses we get from this particular survey, we try to understand the current state of organization's data strategy, data governance, the audience who is taking the survey, then the data quality, data velocity, like how the churn is going to happen and how often it happens, and the processes affecting different data elements. And lastly, the user experience of people who are actually dealing with data. So that's the survey, that's the first part. So I'll just quickly run through it. I'll not go through all the questions, but just to give you a glimpse, like for data strategy, we ask like critical data is centralized as at a particular organization. If you strongly agree or you do not agree, just mark in your answers. Once we have all these data, we have kind of a scoring mechanism wherein we measure all these individual elements like data strategy, governance, quality, velocity, processes, user experience, and we give an overall score So this particular dashboard gives you the overall score here. Out of 5, it tells you where your current data maturity stands. It's kind of index. And this gives you a survey audience breakup. So here I can see like about 30% of people who gave response to this survey were either from back office or from the information technology department. If I go into details, now all these individual categories are scored individually, like from 1 to 5 again. And it gives you, there are some questions over there, and based on the responses, it gives you an insight, like say for data governance, how often data you deal with gets scheduled for archiving. And about 42% people said it gets archived weekly. So all these are individually measured. And one last thing about this is we asked what change to data management would make your life easy, and people came up with different answers. So maybe if you want to see the process, just click on it and it filters everything. And you can see that particular individual gave answers, how they responded to different elements of the survey. Obviously, this is anonymous, so you'll not get to know who answered this one, but still you get a feel of how people are responding to different elements of the survey.
Thanks, Vic. So yeah, hopefully people understand Qualtrics. It's for surveys, but also insights. We're just really skimming the surface with what we're showing you there. Just to add to that, we're offering a data survey free of charge. If people are interested in measuring how mature they are in their data lifecycle, contact us. We'll send you the links. You can invite as many people anonymously from your organization as you want. But we also do the same on user experience. So if you are interested in measuring user experience or how effective your applications are, so it might be a suite of HR transactions or applications, whatever it is, we can run similar surveys. So we have a user experience Qualtrics survey and a data maturity Qualtrics survey. So hopefully that's of use. We'll be showing you a ton more stuff in the 14th of October. So we're going to do business technology platforms. So we'll be focused on some of these microservices that we talked about. So it's not really going to be much Maestro stuff. It's going to be some of the kind of cool stuff that you guys might be looking to utilize within your organization. Yeah, and with that, really, what I just wanted to finally say, so if I could just move that out of the way. For those of you that understand this concept of design thinking, so this is about problem solving, okay? So when we talk about business technology platform, and we'll go into a bit of detail in October, we use this process. It's very similar with Maestro. We deploy Maestro, people can adopt it and just run with the standard templates. But sometimes we will run workshops like this to uncover some of those kind of data processes, yeah? But typically this is used in app development. So again, as part of the survey stuff that I've just said, if people want to use it, get in contact with us. It's not going to cost you anything. We'll give you the surveys to use. If people are interested in how to run design thinking workshops and discovering new innovation opportunities, get in contact, because this is kind of what we do as a business. So over to the Q&A stuff. I noticed, Feroz, you've been answering away. I was just having a quick look at these ones. Just interesting, is the functionality of Maestro available in SAP BTP by default, or does it require to purchase a product? Yeah, so a key point really. So Maestro previously was you buy the software and then you can consume software services from the cloud platform. But we also offer now software as a service. So you can pay monthly subscriptions for Maestro now. So we're moving that model. It used to be you buy the software and then you can consume these cloud services, but we have another option, which is you can just pay on a kind of monthly subscription for Maestro and the business partner portal. And I think you've answered all these other ones quite detailed anyway. Hopefully people are seeing the screen and seeing the Q&A anyway. So people can read through them. So yeah, I'd open it up. Folks, has anybody got any additional questions they would like to ask?
There is one question that's come through, Dan.
Yeah.
Do you offer any proof of concepts or trials?
We do a try before you buy now with Maextro and Business Partner Portal. So yeah, I mean, what you would, as long as you adopt our standard processes, it's practically zero cost. But it is for a limited period of time. I can't remember if it's like 5 weeks or whatever. You get access to the system. So if people are interested, just reach out to us. Our contact details are at the end. Yeah, and you can have a try before you buy or a proof of concept.
Thank you. And somebody's also asked if what they've seen today is compatible with S/4HANA.
Yes, both. So it will work on ECC6 or S/4HANA. Yeah, Maextro is running across both with no issue whatsoever, and especially the business partner stuff that I've showed you. There's probably more customers running that process on S4, but there are a couple running that in ECC as well as business partner, because before it was customer and vendor, and then you migrate to business partner. So yeah, Maextro does the job across both platforms.
Thank you. And we do have another just couple of minutes if anyone has got any final questions. And if not, obviously we've got the contact details on there, so you will be able to get in touch with Dan or some of the team.
Timed that quite well, didn't we? 1 minute to go.
Yeah.
Was there another question there? Hang on.
There's one just came into the chat there from Tim.
Sorry. Do you have similar processes to facilitate creation? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so material is, I don't know if you would have a comment, Ferraz, whether it's the most complex, but that's where Maextro originally kind of started with the material process. So we cover everything from mass, the data collections, the data approvals. So it's exactly the same. It's just a different object. We do quite a bit of integration work as well between PLM and Maextro and SAP. So yeah, Maextro will work seamlessly in those areas. We also manage the kind of, if you're a manufacturing company, all those. So not only do you have materials, but you typically have BOM, routing, recipes. Maextro looks after all that stuff as well. So hopefully that answers the question, Tim.
Thank you, Dan. So we are just on time there. Just like to say thank you to you guys for delivering the webinar today, and thank you to all of the attendees for dialing in. We will have a recording of the webinar available post event if anyone wants to catch up on anything, or for anyone who's missed today's event. So thank you.
Thanks, everybody.